Welcome inside to the opening drive. Nick Kosko and Mike Antosiewicz every Wednesday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. It is cold out, but I don't care. I'm still on cloud nine. We are going to recap the Super Bowl today, and as you judge by my Eagles sweatshirt this morning, as you will see on our YouTube show as soon as this show is over when I post it, I am still stunned. I'm still baffled. I don't know how it happened, but it did. The Eagles are Super Bowl champions. We're going to break that all down. What that means for the Eagles, the Patriots, the Josh McDaniels situation we'll break down as well if you didn't hear about that last night. He rescinded the Indianapolis Colts head coaching offer. He is back in New England, and that is a huge mess going on right now. And, of course, after we break down the NFL, we'll get into Rutgers Wrestling. Because we're flipping the show around today, NFL first, and then we'll get into Rutgers Wrestling. Coming off a split this weekend, and they're taking on Minnesota on Friday. We'll have that coverage for you, as always. But let's get into the NFL first today, Mike. And we got to start off, obviously, with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I'm still dumbfounded. There was no defense until one big play by Philadelphia. Nick Foles went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady, made one less mistake. MVP, won the game. Doug Peterson, forget that he only got one vote for Coach of the Year. This guy did the greatest coaching job I've ever seen. They're champions now. That can never be taken away.
As an Eagles fan during your lifetime, your coaches have been only Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, and now
in my lifetime, yes.
Yeah, it's not very difficult company. But
no, Andy Reid was close. I'll give you Andy Reid is considered the greatest coach in Eagles history. I think he may now have some company with Doug Peterson, considering he won a Super Bowl in only his second season. But, you know, you go off the greatness of Andy Reid, just fell short. He fell short a bunch of times. Chip Kelly, great, and then it hit rock bottom in an instant. And then you go into Doug Peterson, you're like, who knows? And then year two, Doug Peterson delivers this. I mean, how improbable was that? I seriously could not believe it. I still can't believe it, but it happened.
There are many storylines from this game, but let's actually just go into the game for a second, because I told you after the AFC Championship game, I said, Nick, did you see that fourth quarter? It looked like the writing was on the wall. The Patriots were done, and then they got on that move. They got on that roll, even after having like a 20-yard screenplay, across the field screenplay, and then fumbling and Miles Jack recovering. And I said, Nick, it was destiny for the New England Patriots. I was convinced they're going to win. Now, for my league with the spreads, it was a 5.5-point spreads, and I thought that the Eagles. I bet the Eagles. I thought that it wasn't going to be a blowout by any means. I thought it was going to be a very close game. But I still picked the Eagles. But I still thought the writing's on the wall for the Patriots. Now we're in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, right? And I see there's like 14 minutes on the clock. The Patriots are driving. Soon after that, they just take their first lead of the game. I think with like 10 minutes left or something like that. And my dad and I are, we're having a giant Super Bowl party, so we're actually sitting on the floor in our basement. And I whispered to my dad, I go, Dad, this is like the Jacksonville game all over again. They're going to take it. And at that point, I'm worried, because the Patriots already have a 1-point lead. If they score another touchdown, that means they win by more than 5.5 points, assuming that the Eagles don't do anything. That means we also lose the game. So I was really, in a terrified state. And I go, Dad, this is like Jaguars fourth quarter 2.0. The writing's on the wall. Something major has to happen. It ended up being that the strip sack of Brady, but you have to admit there was a 3-minute span, and when I mean 3 minutes of game time, right on the clock span, where you thought, oh, this is just going to be Patriots Super Bowl win 6.0. Brady in the fourth quarter makes a drive. Because it really looked that way. Well, it really looked that way for part of that fourth quarter.
Well, here's what was going through my head. So the Patriots score about 9.5 minutes to go. They're up by a point. To tell you the truth, I mean, obviously the fan in me, I'm shaking, I'm nervous, and I'm hanging on to every single step of a cleat each play. I was confident the Eagles could drive down the field and score. But when I thought about that, I figured they better run this clock down to about 30 seconds and give the Patriots absolutely no time to come back. I had a feeling the Eagles were going to score and take the lead after that 4th and 1. They have 4th and 1. They need to get it. If they don't get it, the Patriots are going to get the ball back. They're going to run the clock out, or they're going to score a touchdown and then go for 2 to go up by 9 just to spite everybody. Nick Foles takes a snap, rolling to his left. He's pressured by 2 guys. He backpedals somehow, and he completes a pass to Zach Ertz with the first. And I said, they're going to score. They're not getting stopped now. They're going to keep moving. And sure enough, they did, but they're only up by 5 after the missed 2-point conversion. There's still 2 minutes. There's still 2 minutes and change to go. I said, that's too much time for Brady. They better, if they score, you better hope there's still time on the clock, and the Eagles can go down, kick a field goal, win the game. And then the strip sack happens. I'm saying, it's not over yet, but my God, this game is almost over. And I knew it wasn't going to end unless the Eagles got a first down. They didn't get it. They got the field goal up by 8. You felt better, but then the Patriots still, even though they were inside their own 10-yard line, got to about midfield, and it still came down to a Hail Mary. So they weren't done until the clock hit 0. But they needed a play. And for a game that had no defense whatsoever, it turns out the biggest play for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl on Sunday was a strip sack from Brandon Graham and the rookie Derek Barnett recovering it. And sure enough, you finally got to Brady, and that's what helps you win the game. So the formula worked. Get to Brady, you win the game. It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen all game. It happened in the right spot. And I'll flip it over to the offensive side now, Mike. Were you?
But by the way, let's just say this, is that if the Patriots win that Super Bowl, if the Patriots win on Sunday, if you look at the statistics Brady had, it would have been one of the all-time great quarterback performances
it still
in
was.
Super Bowl history.
You can't say Brady lost that game.
And you're right. Even though he's lost, it still is statistically. We're not going to talk about it. It's not going to be part of the conversation. Maybe 5 years from now, it'll be part of the conversation.
Like, oh yeah, remember when Brady threw 500 yards?
Especially, and no offense, Nick, but if the Eagles, don't get back for the next 5 years, they're struggling to make the playoffs, and the Patriots for another 4 years, are right in the conversation every year. People are going to start talking about that game. Wow, Brady! Look at him. Last Super Bowl they lost, but look how good Brady was. I mean, he was amazing that game.
Now, carving him up,
and quite frankly, if he did not drop that pass on 3rd down, and I can't believe that word's just coming out. If Brady didn't drop the pass, but if Brady didn't drop the pass on 3rd down, I think we would have
they might drive right down
the general
field,
conversation would have a much higher respect for
Brady. They got a little too cute there, and they actually, Mike, if you remember, 2 years ago,
and he had alligator arms, Brady. He totally could have caught him.
And 2 years ago, if you remember, the Eagles went to Foxborough and actually upset the Patriots in Chip Kelly's final year. Go figure. And the Patriots hit that same exact play for Brady, who went for about 30 to 40 yards on that same play. And I thought it was pretty funny. The Eagles had a similar play anyway later in the Super Bowl. Not only did it, obviously they didn't run the play to troll Brady because Nick Foles could catch a pass for a touchdown, not Brady, but they ran it because Doug Peterson has cojones the size of the moon. Who runs a play like that on 4th down? Nick Foles said, let's run that. Doug Pearson's like, okay, let's do it.
By the way, Tim Carafalmo, if you're listening, he probably didn't understand that reference, the cojones reference. So.
I don't think he did.
Tim, call in later. We'll explain it to you.
I don't think he understood that reference. 4th and 1, though, Mike. How do you come up with a play call like that on 4th and 1? It's from 4th and 1 from the goal line.
And it was brilliant. It really was.
They're up by 3, Mike. They know if they kick a field goal there, they're up 18-12 at halftime, and they're not winning the game. They had to score a touchdown there. It's as simple as that. They had to score a touchdown there, and they came up with a great. That play is going to be remembered from this Super Bowl. The play that you should remember, not only of the 4th and 1 of the strip sack, how about the wheel route to Corey Clement, which set up that touchdown? They had a 3rd down and a long, up 15-12. Nick Foles finds Corey Clement for a 55-yard reception, running down the field, trucking people. That set that up. There's so many plays in this game, but the play that's going to be remembered is that quote-unquote Philly special where Foles catches the touchdown pass.
The only bad coaching decision, and it wasn't even a bad one, I have to agree with Evan Roberts of The Fan. He made this point about this one play call on Peterson's part was to go for 2 in the second quarter. Because At that point, it was
I said
chasing
take your points there. Yeah,
and it could have been disastrous. Let's say the Patriots had some more time, they scored a touchdown, and they got the 2-point conversion. Then it's going to overtime.
They missed the extra point.
If you got the extra point, and if you went for the extra point, and instead of going for 2, you would have been up by 9 points. It would have been a 2-possession game, no matter what. It wouldn't have all come down to that Hail Mary. But still, I don't blame Peterson. That's the way he coaches. And he continued to stick to that philosophy during the game. So
I'm glad he didn't succumb to the Belichick Aurora. The Belichick,
Aurora
is yeah. I'm glad he didn't succumb to that, because usually coaches in those big spots, I mean, unless you're Tom Coughlin, these coaches, I mean, look at Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan last year. Folded under pressure with that 25-point lead. Look at Pete Carroll getting too cute. Although,
that was despicable. Despicable.
I mean, obviously, if Russell Wilson completes that pass, they're heroes. But look at that. They overcomplicate things. Look at, going back to the earlier Super Bowls. Look at Andy Reid, John Fox, and I think it was Mike Martz who was the head coach the second time around for the Rams in the Super Bowl. I know that they're all 3-point games, but Belichick outcoached them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and this game, I think Belichick got outcoached, and we're going to talk about this for a number of reasons. But what's amazing to me, and especially it's coming from somebody who is a New York Jets fan, who is currently experiencing a coaching staff that is resistant or incompetent when it comes to in-game adjustments. What Peterson has been able to do in this last month and a half is mind-boggling. Right? He's always been a fantastic play caller, audacious play caller. Now, Wentz goes out, Foles comes in. You saw the good, bad, and the ugly in the last games of the regular season. What happens during the 2 weeks between the regular season and the playoffs? He goes back to what Chip Kelly did with Nick Foles.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that ironic?
He integrates that. He doesn't just make an adjustment. He doesn't change a few routes. He doesn't change the scheme. He incorporates an entirely different offensive philosophy for his quarterback. That is actually out Belichicking Belichick, because Belichick...
That is unbelievable and also very ironic, considering how Chip Kelly was run out of town at this point and how Eagle fans feel about Chip Kelly after his great first year, then the mediocre second year when they just missed the playoffs at 10-6, and then the disastrous third year. To me, that's amazing. And Nick Foles managed the game against Atlanta in the divisional round of the playoffs, played better in the second half. They ended up winning by 5 based on their defense, and then he went off in the championship game against the Vikings. And you figured, he can't do that again. He did it again. That's just great coaching. Doug Peterson, Frank Reich, John DeFilippo, that's great coaching. Tremendous coaching.
Yeah, and the Jets wanted John DeFilippo as their offensive coordinator last year, and the Eagles wouldn't let them.
For good reason.
Yeah, and it shows you why. Now let's go to the Belichick side of the ball, and because let's face it, that's what the Patriots is. It's Belichick's side of the ball. It's Mr. Belichick, Mr. Belichick, and Mr. Belichick got a little too big for himself.
And let me point out the biggest issue for the Patriots now from that game. It wasn't the offense. It wasn't Tom Brady.
No, your offense scored 33 points.
It was the defense where he's the supposed mastermind behind him. Him and Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia now has to go to Detroit and answer questions today, like saying, "Oh, Matt, you're now the head coach. How are you going to prevent a disaster like that from happening again in Detroit as the head coach?" Bill Belichick, it doesn't get as much credit. If you actually focus on him, Matt, Mike, jeez. Wow, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay. I'm tired this morning. I said Matt because Matt Patricia, just so you know. Okay. It's okay. And now he's mad at me. You look ahead, Mike, and you're looking at the criticism being thrown out for the Patriots. They're saying, the defense fell apart, but the Eagles played so well, and Brady played so well. They're not even criticizing Belichick. Have you noticed that the past couple of days? Belichick's not even getting that much criticism based on how bad the defense played. Have you noticed that?
Well, again, I don't know what they're saying in Boston. I don't know what they're saying in Boston.
Well, the Malcolm Butler thing is what is getting the most attention because he decided not to play him.
Honestly, and I really don't want to talk about it because we don't know more than anyone else, and it's just going to be repetitive at this point. But I agree with the analysts I've heard on the radio that said that there's something more here than a missed team meeting. By the way, did you see Brady yesterday liked Malcolm Butler's tweet that said, I wasn't late, I didn't miss a curfew or anything like that?
And if you recall, there were some reports about Malcolm Butler after the game. I think it was Ian Rappaport who first said something about this, saying the decision to bench him and not play him on defense caused a rift in the locker room. I know we're reading the social media right now with Malcolm Butler posting a statement on Instagram and Tom Brady liking it and then commenting on it. I know we're reading into that, but that's got to say something a little bit, saying that I think Brady wanted him to play. I think a lot of guys wanted him to play. We still don't know what happened. And Butler said he was out with his family every night. There's crazy rumors that he went to a concert, that he might have been drunk. I mean, who knows? I don't think we're going to know for a while. And if we're going to find out, it's going to be leaked out. Belichick's never going to say why he benched him.
Well, Butler's a free agent. He's going to go.
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back. Let me tell you something. There's actually a very good chance he ends up with the Jets because the Jets have the money and they need a quarterback. They need a cornerback. So I'm not saying it's. I'm not making the prediction, but my point is, he could actually end up with the Jets, and I'm sure it's going to come out. And now, I mean, there's just so many storylines here, moving forward, looking into the future about the Patriots organization, because I really thought, this McDaniel news, we could easily spend 3 hours about it.
Oh, we could. And we're gonna get into Josh McDaniels. Last thing on the Super Bowl, Mike. When you look back on this game, and I'm not even gonna bring up the whole Foles future thing, because anybody who says Nick Foles should be the starter next year over Carson Wentz is ludicrous. This is Carson Wentz's team. Nick Foles flat out said yesterday or the day before, when asked about it, he said, "This is Carson Wentz's team. Carson Wentz is our quarterback." That is all class. I've never seen two classier quarterbacks. For Foles' future, I know you could possibly get a king's ransom for him from a desperate team.
You don't know what Wentz is going to do.
But you don't trade him.
You don't trade him.
I don't.
You have him under contract. You don't know what Wentz should do. Now, what the Eagles should do, honestly, I think he's making like $2.5 billion next year.
Something like that.
You should bounce. You should give him at least another $3 million.
You know what I would do from the Eagles if I'm Howie Roseman, who's a genius with the cap. You find a way to say, hey, you just won us a Super Bowl. You're the MVP. You're going to be our biggest insurance policy. God forbid our franchise quarterback goes down. And if I'm Nick Foles, I mean, who knows what goes through his head? He was on the verge of retirement the other year. If I'm Nick Foles, I just won the Eagles their first Super Bowl. I was the MVP. I'm so content with my career now to be behind Carson Wentz. If they're that good of friends, which apparently they are, and if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm saying, we'll give you a few extra dollars, a couple extra years. You stay behind Carson. You be our biggest insurance policy for the next couple of years. God forbid we need you again. And Nick Foles should be like, okay, I won the Super Bowl. I can go out on a high note and just keep working behind the scenes and make sure this team wins another one with the franchise quarterback. That's what I'll do if I'm the Eagles.
And the good thing is, Wentz is going to come back next year unless there's some major setback.
Yeah, he should be back by week 1, but you still never know.
Exactly. So let's say even if Foles has to start the first 3 weeks and goes 1-2 or something like that,
or 2-1, 3-0, doesn't matter.
Wentz is going to come back. So even if he has a bad 2 games as starter, it doesn't matter. He could just ride into the sunset.
He's fine.
Making a few $1 million as a backup quarterback, I think it's the greatest thing in the world.
He won't get blood.
NFL teams really don't have this anymore, but. My father always said this back in the days, which was only like 7 years ago, when every team had 3 quarterbacks.
And they were active every week.
And they were active
Isn't that
every
crazy?
Week. That being a third-string quarterback is the greatest position in the world, because the chances you get in is almost 0.0. And, and you got to sit there with the clipboard and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, and you got to travel with the team and everything like that, Being a third-string quarterback 10 years ago would have been the life.
Oh, without a doubt. All right, we're going to step aside, take a quick break. On the other side, we'll discuss the Josh McDaniels situation briefly, and then we'll get into Rutgers Wrestling to wrap up the show. Make sure to keep it locked. You're listening to The Opening Drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org.
I'm gonna need someone.
Welcome back inside The Opening Drive. Nick Kosko, Mike Antosiewicz. We discussed the Super Bowl, and I'm on Cloud 9. I'll probably be on Cloud 9 until the draft, and then I'm getting ready for 2018.
I don't see if the Jets were to win the Super Bowl, there would be no Cloud 9. There would just be Heaven. I don't even know what I would do with myself.
I don't know what.
And honestly, I could not be able to watch the game. What I would have to do is you would have to knock me out. I would have to take like 5 Xanax, sleep, and then somebody would have to give me like smelling salt at the end of it, tell me what happened. And then, like, I really don't think I could watch the game. Like there would have to be an EMT next to me to watch it. I couldn't.
Probably.
I mean, you had to see how nervous I was during this game because I wanted the Patriots to lose, and you know, like it was heart-wrenching.
I'll tell you
It's
what.
not even my team.
I'll tell you, it was very hard to watch. It was very hard to watch as a fan and trying to stay calm. I was not calm the entire game. Now they've won. If they go back next year or a couple years from now, you know what? It'll be so much easier to watch because I'll be like, you know what? They have won. This one's easier to watch. I know what to expect. But Mike, if you remember the last time I ever watched the Super Bowl with the Eagles in it, I was 8 years old. I knew what was going on. Excuse me. I knew what was going on, but and I was upset when they lost, but not to this magnitude. I wasn't ready for that yet. And then I first felt the magnitude of a big loss when they lost in 2008 in the championship game to Arizona, because I knew they would have won the Super Bowl that year over Pittsburgh. You can't tell me.
I had 2 losses in a row in the championship game.
That's right. So it was gut-wrenching to watch, but I prevailed in the end. Prevalent.
What?
Josh McDaniels has spurned the Colts. What do you make of that? I mean, we discussed it when you came in before we went on. This is unbelievable. I mean, how big of a I don't know. I can't say. I have to keep the profanities off air, but
of a jack.
Yeah, this guy is a complete phony fraud. How do you turn? He held the Colts to the last second, to the very last second. He spurned them after the Colts. I mean, I get social media again, but the Colts had 3 tweets welcoming him and detailing what he was going to bring to the table, and he spurned them. I don't get this at all. And I came up with this last night with Lance Glenn, our sports director. Excuse me. Either Andrew Luck is severely damaged and he is never going to be the same again, or Josh McDaniels is promised something in New England, because this is eerily similar to Bill Belichick's path to being the head coach of the Patriots. Not saying McDaniels is going to be the head coach of the Patriots anytime soon, but you never know. But it was like how Belichick followed Parcells, now McDaniels is following Belichick. Like, yeah, there's less teams involved, but
Belichick also spurned an obligation. He was the Jets head coach, and then
he actually was the head coach, but he had a contract,
and he resigned on a napkin.
Did he actually sign the contract with the Jets and then resign?
I think so. Yes,
I believe that was the case, right?
Because he said
the NFL
I
wanted to sue. Yeah.
Yes, because what happened is that's
he's binded to that now.
What happened was that there was a trade.
Yes,
and so I think the Jets got Curtis Martin and
the Jets ended up getting compensated because if Belichick resigns, then that's it, and then he's free to do whatever he wants. I think after a certain period or something, but he went right away and became the head coach of the Patriots. That's why the Jets wanted compensation for that, to make it essentially a trade. This is a little different because McDaniels never signed anything. He gave the verbal obligation. What's screwed up, though, is because all the assistants he wanted, the offensive and defensive coordinators, they're staying there because they already signed their contracts, and they're not going to back out now. Otherwise, they might not have jobs this year. So how about this? What a job ad, right? A controlling owner, a quarterback you don't know who's ever going to be healthy again, and 2 guys you didn't handpick to be your coordinators. Sounds like a great gig for a head coach.
Well, I'm sure the Colts are going to release...
They'll find somebody.
No, the Colts are going to release all the assistants that McDaniels wanted from their contract obligations.
No, they're not going to, because they signed them. They're going to keep them.
No, but the organization could say... The organization could talk to the coach and say, you want to be released from your contract because we want to release you. Yes, and then there's no legal...
The problem is, I don't know if those guys want to be released from their contracts because you don't know if they're going to get jobs. They don't know if they're going to get jobs this year.
Of course. No, that's certainly the case. But my point is, a contract is an agreement between 2 willing parties. If the parties are willing to break that contract...
Then you can break the contract.
You can break the contract. So I have a feeling that...
But that's going to be the big question then. If that is going to happen ultimately, because McDaniels left, you just don't know yet.
But see, there's 2 ways to approach this, though. One way is to say this decision on McDaniels' parts reflects something about the Colts, and we could talk about the Colts situation, or this decision on McDaniels' parts tells you something about the Patriots?
I think it's a little bit of both,
I think
but
it's a
more
little
on
bit of
McDaniels.
both.
But more on McDaniels, I think.
But I think it's more Patriots situation, and here's why. I think he was. I don't think something happened in the last 7 hours after he signed or agreed to be the coach, not verbally, of Indianapolis, that some news came out about Andrew Luck, which made him think twice. I think all that he had weeks and weeks to get this straightened out. I highly doubt something came in the 11th hour to make him change his mind. So
it does. I mean, it does seem less likely.
Yeah, I think so. I highly doubt that there was just some doctor's report and they're keeping it quiet. Then he finally agreed, and the doctor's point came out, and it was so bad. So bad that McDaniel said, "You know what? I don't want to do this anymore."
But Mike, you got to remember, Chris Mortensen came out with that report back on Sunday saying that some doctors might be under the opinion that Andrew Luck might need more surgery, thus missing another year.
Then you know what? Then you leave on Monday because yesterday was when they announced everything. So
I think no matter what, it was going to be a bad decision if he left. If he left on Monday or Wednesday, it would have been bad.
Yeah, but again, I think there's a way you could do it more artfully. What I really think is, and I said this to you a few weeks ago, I said, I think there's a shot that this is the last year of the Brady Belichick era. If the Patriots win, I said, if the Patriots win, Patricia leaves and McDaniels leaves, I said, I don't think Belichick wants to start over again, especially because there's no quarterback there. He wanted to hand the organization off to a guy, one of his guys, with one of his quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo that was going to be, and say, okay, now you succeed. I left the organization in a good spot. And Kraft and Brady took that away from him. Now, I'm watching a Super Bowl, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is at the very end when, like the last minute where, it was all but assured that the Patriots are going to lose. I said, what's going to happen now? Because Patricia's gone. We know that. McDaniels was essentially gone, and now they lost. And there's the Malcolm Butler situation happening, which means that something might happen with Belichick and the locker room. And there's been, Nick, we could go through the years. There's been at least 5 times, I am sure of, starting with Lawyer Malloy back God knows how long, that the Patriots have spurned their best players, and have not lost the locker room. That happened first with Lawyer Malloy. It was going to be the death knell in the Patriots era. They won their third Super Bowl that year. So in normal cases, this Malcolm Butler thing...
I guess the Eagles, ironically. How about that?
In normal cases, this Malcolm Butler thing, I don't think that it's a big deal. But you know what,
I would have considered it a big deal at all.
They lost. They did lose.
Yes, that's why.
That locker room is in a state like it's never been before because Brady isn't the little Belichick pet like he was during that time, or they weren't in alliance as they were for the last 10 years. So I'm thinking to myself, what's going to happen now? Right? Patricia's gone. McDaniels is gone. There's fallout because they're going to lose the Super Bowl. There's going to be fallout because of the coaching decision.
I'll tell you right now,
which
Mike,
is going to tell Brady.
If they win Sunday, nobody's talking about Belichick benching Malcolm Butler. They're going to say, "Oh, coach's decision, fine. He did the right thing. Belichick genius again. He's brilliant." Winning cures all for this team. And if you go back to the Seth Wickersham article a couple weeks ago when it came to that big piece on ESPN.com about the rift between Kraft, Belichick, and Brady,
which I definitely think there is one.
I think now you have to consider
you saw it
it
after the AFC Championship
of
thing
course
where Kraft gave Belichick the trophy and Belichick was like,
well, Belichick's always like that with the AFC.
But I mean the way if you look at Kraft, he's looking at him like, there was no camaraderie between the two men.
I get that, but I think now you could take that story with a little more serious than that. Not saying Seth Wickersham was a bad reporter in any means, but if you actually remember when that article first came out, nobody was really taking it that seriously. You said you had a few people who were like, "Oh wow, this could be something big," and the other people were like, the Patriots will be fine if they win the Super Bowl. No worries. Like you won't. This is nothing. It's something now because you have the Malcolm Butler situation. They lost. McDaniels is back after spurning the Colts. It's a big mess now. Patricia is gone. Belichick's defense just got torn up by Nick Foles. There's so much now going on. There's no quarterback answer behind Brady right now. It was Jimmy Garoppolo, and frankly, Mike, at this point, I might be glad if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo. He just got paid bonuses for the Patriots making the Super Bowl because he was under contract with the Patriots for about half a year. Now he's the man in San Fran. He's on the West Coast. I mean, what a franchise to be playing for. He's got Kyle Shanahan as his head coach. If I'm Jimmy G, I'm in a better spot now because I'm away from the drama. I'm my own person. I'm leading my own franchise. Jimmy G is so much better off now that he's in San Fran.
Yeah, but so anyway, let's go back to McDaniels
Of course,
and the Patriots. So
I'm just saying that stems from that, and it's like all this drama now stays over here. Jimmy G got out. That's bad for the Patriots, and we knew it was bad for the Patriots. It's great for him. He's living out there now. It's Brady, Belichick, Kraft, and there's a big mess. It's crumbling beneath their feet.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they can't win another Super Bowl in the next 2 years.
I would not be shocked if they won next year.
Yeah, exactly. So, but my point is that the horizon is approaching. This is what I think happened.
The end is near, my friend.
This is what I'm surmising that happened. I think that there was a scenario that stuff. Actually,
do you think he was? Do you think McDaniels was promised something? That's the biggest theory right now.
In the 11th hour, I think what happened is that, as I said, Belichick is not in a happy situation in New England. Not that he's ever happy, but he's not in a happy situation. There's friction with Brady. There's friction with Kraft. He doesn't have Garoppolo anymore. And I think that
supposedly he wanted Garoppolo to stay, really bad.
Now he wanted, and I think, as I said, that if they win the Super Bowl this year and McDaniels and Patricia both leaving, he's done. He was going to leave. Now they lost the Super Bowl, so he does not want to leave. Patricia couldn't back out. He was too far into the Detroit job to leave that. And so I think Belichick was like, you know what? I can't leave now because I lost. I don't want to leave on a losing note and then still give Brady another 3 years to win a Super Bowl without me and make me look like an idiot. I think he says, you know what? I want to stay now, but I don't want to stay without McDaniels. And you know what? Now that Jimmy G isn't here, now that there isn't a long-term future plan that I could be a part of, I'm gonna leave in 2 years. I'm gonna leave in 3 years. Josh, I swear to God, just stick with me for the end. And then in 2-3 years, this is going to be your job. You're going to have the whole organization to do whatever you want. You're going to be on top of the world. I can't guarantee you that happened, but I'm like 70% sure that was the case.
That's my that's my
think
theory.
I think he was planning to leave if they won anyway. They lost, so he can't leave, but he doesn't want to stay with both Patricia and McDaniels gone. They have been, and although they have won the least amount of Super Bowls with him, they have been his best coordinator combination since he's gotten there. And I just really think
they won a Super Bowl with Charlie Weiss as offensive coordinator.
I know. Oh my God, it's really snowing.
Wow, it's really coming down now. Breaking news.
Yeah, I really think Belichick wanted out if they won. They didn't win. Patricia was already gone. He saw that McDaniels was leaving, and he just said, "Listen, Josh, I'm going to be done in 2 years. I'm going to see maybe the end of the Brady era, or try to win another Super Bowl, and then I'm going to get the heck out. Just stay. You have everything. You will be the next guy. You know what I mean?" And
it really is amazing when you think about it, considering the report from Schefter yesterday said that McDaniels was really hesitant to move his family out of New England to Indianapolis, and I take everything seriously that Schefter reports, so I'll believe him on that. But that's not the sole reason. He has to be promised something, and I'm sure if anybody, the Schefter, Rappaport, someone's going to dig this out, or a Boston media guy is going to dig out why McDaniels ultimately spurned the Colts. It's going to come out, and I think, Mike, when it does, it's going to be ugly, and it's going to look worse on the Patriots end than it will on the Colts end, without a doubt.
Oh, easily.
There's no way. Look at the Colts. I mean, do you make the call? I mean, I'm just throwing darts at a board right now. Do you make the call to Jim Harbaugh? Do you just say, hey, how about this? You come coach us now. What do you do if you're the Colts? Who's your head coach? I saw a tweet where, excuse me, the Colts should just call Frank Reich, John DeFilippo. I think they had a special teams coach, Matt Tube from somewhere, Tube, whatever his name is, and somebody else, another special teams coach. They should make those calls, and they have to make them now. Because you don't know, I have no idea what the Colts could possibly do at this point. It's a mystery. All right, we're going to take another quick break. On the other side, we will have Rutgers Wrestling talk. I know you folks I've been waiting for it, so have we, but we had to get the Super Bowl talk out of the way. I have to stay on Cloud 9 with the Eagles. I don't know when I'll be off. As I mentioned, maybe the draft I'll be off, but this feeling will never go away. So make sure to keep it locked. Talks a little Rutgers Wrestling next here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Welcome back inside the opening drive. Nick Kosko, Mike Antosiewicz, 8:40. Let's wrap things up today. Last 20 minutes, we'll go Rutgers Wrestling. As always, got to talk about them. Mike, first thing we need to talk about has to be the weekend at least before we look ahead to Friday's match against Minnesota. The split over the weekend. Northwestern was a win, a much-earned win.
We can't discuss that Penn State-Ohio State match?
I guess we could briefly discuss that. How about that?
Yeah, let's discuss that because that was wonderful for the ratings, wonderful
for
the sport.
All I'm going to say about that match is, Mike, who beats Penn State ever? They are missing Jason Nolf, and they still win by a point. They still win. And guess what happened? They lost 4 of the first 5 matches. How? Nathan Tomasello.
Yeah, once Nick Lee lost, I'm like, this is done.
That's what I said. Nathan Tomasello wins a shootout. So he was getting beat, by the way, by Carson Kuhn, who, by the way, I guarantee you, by that tournament, Mike, he might be a round of 12 guy for all we know. He transferred from Boise State. He's the new guy there. Devin Schnupp has been nothing this year. Carson Kuhn's going to walk in there and be a round of 12 guy by the NCAAs. Nathan Tomasello beats him. He majors him. Then Luke Pletcher only got a decision, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
And then Joey McKenna knocks off Nick Lee, and I'm like, McKenna's back. Lee just got beat. No way Penn State wins now. Rutherford does what he does, techs Hayes, and then Micah Jordan teched the backup at 57 because Nolf's not in there.
Rutherford got taken down first, though.
And Rutherford got taken down. So
yeah, that was crazy.
I'm like, there's no way Penn State's winning. Micah Jordan countered Rutherford's tech, and they go into halftime with a huge lead. 65 happens. Did Joseph get a major? He got a major, correct?
I think so.
I thought he was only going to get a decision because Richie Lewis held him to 6 points, even though Lewis upset Campbell as well. But Joseph gets the major. How about, and then Mark Hall.
No. Lewis didn't give him 6 points. It was less.
I met Lewis to Joseph. Like Joseph and Lewis, it was 6-5. That's why I thought Joseph's going to be close with Campbell. Okay. Yeah. 74, Mark Hall, Bo Jordan, great match. Mark Hall is just ridiculous. You saw the duck under, I'm assuming,
yeah,
right?
I mean, it was one of the nicest duck unders I've ever seen in my life. And it seems like every time I see him wrestle, there's another one of those nice.
There's a more impressive one next.
Yeah.
So that was a fought, and that match could have went either way, but that was a earned match by Mark Hall. Then the Nickel Martin match. Miles Martin for Ohio State has been so much better at 84 this year than he was last year. He's jacked. He's ridiculous.
And he got majored. He's number 2, and he got majored by number 1.
He's the number 2 kid in the country. Got majored by number 1, which is unbelievable.
I mean, when he got behind Bo Nickel.
And that says something about Bo Nickel, Mike. There's 3 seconds left. Bo Nickel gets a tilt and gets a 2 count and gets the extra 2 points he needs for a major.
Which gives them the match.
That's the match. How?
I mean, and then you go to 97.
And here's the shocker of the night. Colin Moore, number 1 in the country, expected national champ this year. He has so many international accolades too, like his teammate Kyle Snyder. Not as much, obviously, but he has the accolades. And this guy Anthony Kassar, who's splitting time with Shakur Rashid in 97,
who just beat him in a wrestle-off, by the way.
Rashid apparently beat him in a wrestle-off a couple of days before. Rashid has been a top 10 guy all year. So has Kassar, frankly. Actually, a couple times he's been ranked, but he's been on the bench for a while. And Samson's like, you know what, Kassar, you go out there, go wrestle Colin Moore. He beats him.
You know,
how?
And Colin Moore,
and then Snyder needs a major to win, and he can't major Neville's. And I could tell Snyder at any other time could destroy Nick Neville's, and he kind of did anyway. But Snyder was going for those big moves because they knew they had to get a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, when he threw Neville's on top of him, I'm like, that's just terrible. And honestly, let's give Neville's credit. There were a few times where Snyder came in on a shot. Yeah. No, but Snyder came in a shot, and just great hips by Nick Neville.
I'll give him credit.
He's extremely athletic guy.
But the match was won by Anthony Kassar over Colin Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike, when you look at that, and we'll briefly go on this, does anybody ever beat Penn State if they could do that?
Without Jason Nolf, yeah.
And who beats them? That's like 44 matches in a row now.
And it's just amazing. Anthony Kassar just beat a number 1 kid in the country, and he might not even be the best wrestler in that weight class.
On his own team.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I was watching those. I was. Nick and I really wanted to watch that match together, but I had to go home on Friday, so I wasn't here on Saturday. And
couldn't stop calling you.
Yeah, that's true. You called me. And I'm like, Nick, my cousin, my younger cousin. He loves wrestling. He plays hockey, but he's really interested in sport. And so I went over to his house and was watching with him. And like, he was just transfixed. Like, oh my, this is what college wrestling is. I mean, because the noise,
this is the apex,
the action, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. But anyway, I'm sorry I brought that up. Actually, not sorry I brought it up. It was fantastic.
No, it was good to talk about.
It was tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
It was tremendous.
It was,
wonderful.
It was prevalent.
It was prevalent.
Hey, now.
All right. Hey. Okay.
Now let's go to Rutgers Wrestling.
Of course.
Northwestern didn't shock me. I don't think there's a lot to talk about there. I don't understand what Coach Goodell's decision in Illinois was. I think he thought, you know what, with Soriano out, we're not going to win the match, and because Soriano had the flu. I think Coach Goodell said, you know what, with Soriano out, we're not going to win the match. How about we just bench everybody, give them some rest, because it looks worse for the rankings if we wrestle 9 starters and lose than if we
That to me is the only explanation. I don't think those guys were really that hurt. I mean, I get Nick Gravina hurt his shoulder again against Northwestern.
I mean, Gravina's always hurt.
He's always hurt.
Yeah.
I don't get not wrestling DeLuca. He would have easily beaten Barone. I mean, I guess Richie Lewis, you don't want to wrestle him against Aymar until the Big Ten tournament, but I mean, that's a great match. You give Richie Lewis the challenge. He almost knocked out the number 1 kid.
I guess the decision was Big Ten seeding.
That's all I could think of.
Yeah.
But he's gonna be seated below him anyway. So
I guess
I guess like he wants Lewis to have an opportunity to have more points because Marinelli is gonna be seated above him, and plus you got to remember Lewis has to face Nick Wanzak on Friday, and then Evan. I think it's Evan Wick on next Saturday against Wisconsin. There's some big matches for Lewis coming up, but I think once Soriano didn't wrestle, Goodell's like, you know what, we're at some spots where we'll take some guys out. Scott Del Vecchio at least got the win. That kid, Mike Carr at 141 for Illinois, just there you go, another 141 pound. He's a top 12 kid. And Mike Van Brill, I thought was going to coast over their backup or whoever was there. Mike Carr, I guess, has been sidelined recently. He's already number 12 according to Intermat. He was ranked in some other polls. Van Brill couldn't knock him off. Then you saw Nick Santos almost got the win. Backup. John Van Brill is the biggest one to talk about. He got a big pin on Friday, on that last Friday against Northwestern. Rutgers wrestled well against Northwestern. Let's be real here. They wrestled pretty well. John Van Brill, that's his bugaboo. Kyle Lochendorfer is his bugaboo. Van Brill's now out of the Intermat rankings, which is the one we go by. He's still ranked in some other polls, but Lochendorfer is back in Intermat. Van Brill is out. Van Brill's going to have to beat that kid in the tournament and probably the NCAA tournament to advance.
Yeah.
That's his bugaboo.
It was not, honestly, dude, it's...
He had it was one bad sequence which gave 6 points to Lochendorfer, and that was it. But it seems like every time that happens, he can't beat him. The only time he beat him was when he was down 7-0 and then threw him into his back and got the pin.
Yeah, it just, this season's been so frustrating because after the Soriano
the injuries,
transfer, it was...
Wow.
Oh, my God. This is
top 5.
This is top 5. You're going to have Soriano top 3 in the country, Ashnault top 3 in the country, and Richie Lewis, if he stayed 57, top 3 in the country.
Yeah. You might have All-Americans and Scott Del Vecchio, Nick Gravina. DeLuca is a nice surprise. Kevin Mulligan's coming out. Razan Gross might take a step forward.
Van Brill, you see what happens in Van Brill in the second year. Instead, what happened is, after Soriano, they did not perform the way they needed to against Iowa. They didn't get that bump. Then now it's clear Ashnault's not coming back. So this season. So you lose one top 3 guy, and then Richie Lewis decides to bump up. So you lose another top 3 guy because he's no longer even in the top 10 in 65. So you went from, could you imagine?
He's not even top 8 in the Big Ten right now, I don't think.
If Ashnault was at 41 and Richie Lewis was at 57, Rutgers is ranked 11th in the country right now. They have 3 top 3 wrestlers, right?
No, Rutgers is ranked, I think, 18th right now.
No, they would be.
Oh, would be.
If Ashnault was wrestling and Richie Lewis was stated 57.
I can make the argument they're even higher.
Yeah, you can make the argument. My point is that they're at least number 11. If Ashnault...
They beat Nebraska.
So
they beat Iowa.
You lose one top 3
guy.
You essentially lose a second top 3 guy in Richie Lewis because he bumps up the weight class. Nick Gravina has been injured since the first match this year with Maryland.
He's been injured since his sophomore year.
But I mean, really injured. You don't know what's going to happen with him. Van Brill has still been inconsistent. Mike Van Brill has been a bright spot. DeLuca has been a bright spot too. But
despite the record, he's been wrestling diesels.
74 finally has worked out, but it's kind of a little bit too late right now.
Grell is still
97
young.
Has been a disaster as of yet.
And Gross has regressed.
So this
Although I
this
give
team has
him
so
props,
much potential.
I give him props for getting the win against Deuce Recall, who he edged out last year in Rutgers' exciting win over Illinois. I'll give him props. It was gross. He desperately needed a win. He couldn't beat Conan Jennings on Friday. He needed a win. He needed something, and he might have a chance to win again on Friday against Minnesota. So, Mike, let's look ahead now to Friday as we recapped this weekend as much as we could. They beat Northwestern as expected. They probably should have beaten Illinois as well, but once, as you mentioned, once Suriano does not wrestle, Goodell's like, you know what? We're going to rest 3 other guys, so we're fine. Also, Grella got a win, which is nice. Grella got a win against Illinois. So, and how about Anthony Messner? I'm not saying it's going to mean much if Mulligan doesn't wrestle, obviously, but Messner got a win. So at least you get a win from 97. But now let's look at Friday, Mike. Suriano Lezak. Lezak has not been as good this year for Minnesota.
No, he's been terrible.
But he's still a top 10 guy. I expect a major or a tech from Suriano, though, over Lezak.
I want a tech.
I want a pin. How about that?
I think it's possible.
So,
and you know what? Suriano, he's a little stockier. He's shorter than Lezak. I would love to see Suriano get a few duck unders on Mr. Lezak.
So that's the advantage for Rutgers. And then now we go to 33. DeVecchio still ranked 20th according to Intermat. Mitch McKee is 12th. That is a big swing match for Friday. I think I had DeVecchio losing at this point.
Yeah, I think DeVecchio's going to lose.
If DeVecchio is going to have a chance, Mike, to look ahead to, if we're looking ahead to nationals, and DeVecchio is going to be one of the guys on the podium, he's going to be an All-American. This is the type of guy he has to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. No. So this is going to be an important match. Now, 141 is...
I think it's Tommy Thorne. That's going to be a very, very tough match for Mike Vanbrugh. But I'm not going to say it. That's not impossible for him to pull off an upset.
No, it's not. And he's been so up and down this year, Tommy Thorne. He's pinned... he didn't pin Dean Heil. He pinned...
No.
Who did he pin? He pinned somebody.
I forget who he pinned, to be honest.
He pinned McKenna. He pinned Joey McKenna.
That's right, he did.
So, but then there's also one weekend where he lost by 3 techs.
Yeah, so you just never know. Those next two are toss-ups.
2-1 Minnesota after...
We're going by rankings. DeLuca is going to be taking on... I had a name written down, but it's on my phone, and we're using my phone to record video. And whoever he's facing is unranked.
It's 2-2 after 4, let's say.
Let's just say, yeah.
And Rutgers should have the advantage because of a major with Suriano.
Yes. 57 is a big one. Vanbrugh no longer in there. I don't think Minnesota's going to be ranked.
No, they have Jake Short. So this is actually
this is a swing match. This
Yes.
is the big swing match because Vanbrugh is capable of being a top 15 guy. Some polls, Mike, he's a top 15 guy, maybe even a top 10 guy. But he's so inconsistent right now.
But he does wrestle so much better at home. Let's say Rutgers wins this one at 57.
That's a big swing match. And now we go to 65 in the start of the second half. Here is the big match of the night. It's Richie Lewis and Nick Wanzek. Wanzek's a senior. Lewis is a senior. Wanzek is on that cusp right now of being an All-American. He's 8th. Lewis is 11th. If Lewis wins this match, no doubt in my mind, he jumps into the top 10, possibly top 9. This is big. And this is huge for seeding too, Mike.
So you know what? Let's say that they lose Vanbrugh. So let's say after 6, it's 3-3. I say they split Vanbrugh Wanzek. They split Vanbrugh Lewis. Rutgers does.
Okay.
So let's say 3-3 after 6, right? Now 74. This is the weaker part of the lineup.
Grelo's been better.
Grello has been better.
Does Minnesota have anyone ranked?
And
they don't.
Minnesota doesn't have anyone ranked.
So we have a toss-up match at 74.
So let's give this one to Rutgers then, because home team advantage, right?
I'll take that.
So,
look at
okay.
Penn. Look at Penn State, Mike. Look at Penn State.
So 4-3, and then
this is big. I'm pretty sure they have somebody ranked, if I'm not mistaken. They do. They have Owen Webster ranked at 19 for Minnesota 84. Gravina is ranked 12th. I'm gonna have to give Gravina has only. I believe he's only lost 2. He's lost to Emery Parker, Bo Nickel, and he even wrestled Miles Martin. Who else did he lost to?
I don't know.
He lost to somebody cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy from North Carolina.
Yes.
That's it. I don't think Gravina's lost any other match.
So
I'll give this one to Gravina.
So it's 5-3. Then we go into 97.
Here's where it gets questionable, because in 97 we don't know who Rutgers is throwing out there. Willie Scott bumped up on last Friday. Anthony Messner wrestled on Sunday. We don't know what the situation is with Kevin Mulligan. And Minnesota has nobody ranked, so Goodell better get this one right.
Yeah, absolutely. And now if Kevin, and again, they have no ranked wrestler, so this is a toss-up match too.
We have no idea what's happening in 97.
And you know what? Listen, And there's still a chance that Rutgers could sweep at 57 and 65. They could sweep that stretch.
Or lose both. You never know.
Or they could lose both because, again, rankings-wise, Rutgers doesn't win the rankings against either of those teams.
And I believe Minnesota is unranked at heavyweight as well. So another toss-up for Gross.
So, listen, I think if this match was at Minnesota, Rutgers loses. But I think if it's a home match in the rack, I think there's a chance that at 97 heavyweight and 74, you probably get 3 of the 2 because of the home.
2 of the 3.
2 of the 3, excuse me.
3 of the 2. Wow, I would love to get 3 of those 2 matches.
You get 2 of the 3. It looks like, again, Gravina should win. So that is 3 in the top 5 in the second half of the matches.
Right.
Then you don't know. I have a feeling with Richie Lewis you could. And then, it's going to be really, really, really. Again, 41 is going to be close.
There are a lot of swing
matches. I do
matches.
think there's so many swing matches. It's not worth going through all the scenarios. But I do think Rutgers has a very, very good chance, given that they are at home against Minnesota.
Without a doubt. And I think it's going to come down, as we always say, because Rutgers is undermanned at some spots where they're not as good as they were in years past.
But honestly,
it's got on the bonus points.
Minnesota is actually good for Rutgers in the sense that
they're right ahead right
home
now.
because they're weak where Rutgers is weak.
It's true.
So now you're about tied.
Who's weaker?
Yeah, you're about tied in the lighter weight classes, but now you have home field mat advantage. So the matchup situation actually works in the way of Rutgers' favor.
That's right. I mean, that's what I said when I was breaking down these matches, and I broke down the Wisconsin and Princeton as well. But you look at, and we'll get into that next week.
They're going to be Princeton. Don't worry about that.
They'll be Princeton. But Wisconsin's going to be another close one, like Minnesota, but that one's on the road. But when I broke down these matchups, Mike, they are close. It's very even. Minnesota is only a couple spots above Rutgers in the rankings, so this would be a nice win for Rutgers. They're 6-6, they're 2-5 in the Big Ten. They need this win. They need to essentially right now, Mike, win out. If they win out, you have a more positive outlook on the dual meet season, and then you feel better going into the Big Ten tournament. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if they win out here, you feel a lot better if they beat Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Princeton. Do you feel better?
Yeah, I do. Again, it's all going to come down to me this season on like 3 things. Soriano National Championship victory, Richie Lewis, like perhaps being a national finalist, something a very deep run for Richie Lewis.
He'd have to get through a gauntlet,
and like if they could get 4 All-Americans this year, like for me.
I'm thinking Soriano, Gravina, Lewis, Del Vecchio. If you get 4 All-Americans.
If you get 4 All-Americans.
That's what I'm thinking.
So 4 All-Americans, a deep run by Richie Lewis, national championship by Soriano. Who cares what the dual meet record is at that point? In
fact, it'll look even better if they get that after a 9-6 dual meet season with all the injuries and the question marks at some weights. And then we'll see what happens next year when the recruits come in. But now we're looking a little too far ahead. But tune in Friday, 7 p.m.
Ciao.
Myself, Mike Antosiewicz, Matt Howe, on the call, Rutgers, Minnesota for wrestling on this very station on 88.7. Mike Antosiewicz is out of here. He's got to catch a train. It's no longer snowing, Mike, so you should be fine. But that's going to do it for us. I am Nick Kosko. Make sure to tune in next Wednesday for the opening drive from 8 to 9 a.m. And don't forget, Rutgers Wrestling on Friday night, 7 p.m. Take on Minnesota, a big match. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned for further programming here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org.